Welcome to the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. I have an article that came to me from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The article claims that, quote, a remarkably complete 3.8 million year old skull of an early human has been unearthed in Ethiopia. A discovery that has the potential to alter our understanding of human evolution. It's older than Lucy. You know Lucy. But it is not the oldest specimen. That would be something they call tumai, found in China, dated back to 7 million years ago. This skull, known now as MRD, was discovered not far from the younger of the two, Lucy, the ancient ancestor of modern humans, we are told, and shows that the two species may have coexisted for about 100,000 years. The article says this skull is one of the most complete fossils of hominids more than 3 million years old. This by a renowned Ethiopian paleoanthropologist of the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. I can tell you his name, but I can't pronounce it. He is a co-author of 2 studies published just this past Wednesday in the journal Nature. This discovery apparently bridges the gap between the oldest human ancestors that we know of and this Lucy character. The oldest being dated about 6 million years ago, and Lucy being dated about 3 million years ago. The picture in the article shows a very small skull with a jawline protruding outward from the eyes, similar to that of a monkey. Now, you know what I'm about to say, right? These scientists begin with a basic assumption. Their assumption is called evolution. There is no God in their system. There is no moment of creation. There is only the evolving of material. The majority of these scientists reject the biblical narrative as a sort of traditional mythology handed down by that group of humans we know as Jews. These are family stories. They're not science. However, the reality is that a planet and solar system created by an infinite God would arrive with the impression of age. Fully formed, it implies the age. So their problem is not logic. Their problem is God. That there is a God who would create human beings fully formed as adult male, adult female. Something beyond their willingness to accept. And that this world would have the same image of age as they're giving it. All of this would exalt the human species more. A species that gradually evolved upward from rudimentary chemicals to what we know and see now wouldn't have that same class. Or a species arriving fully formed, able to harness the natural forces, the intricacies of the planet has to offer, just as something they cannot comprehend. Evolutionary theory requires great gaps and leaps in order to be viable. However, nothing in the evolutionary tale accounts for the genesis of these basic chemicals and all the other stuff necessary to get to this particular place, to get this particular ball rolling. Where did all this stuff come from? And how did all these chemicals become human beings? Do you ever see a chemical evolve into any kind of life form at any level? Well, but there are billions and billions of years in there. We don't know what would happen over that period of time. But where did all that stuff come from to start with? This particular skull in the picture of a man holding it up to the camera looks like a young monkey. And since monkeys seem to be our nearest relatives in look, structure, and all the rest of it, it must be an early humanoid. It couldn't be a monkey, locked in a chemical grave for thousands of years. The article admits that this discovery is a game changer. It represents something science has never seen before nor imagined. That two similar species could coexist on the planet for 100,000 years. What's that say about our evolving history? Of course, they admit this skull represents a mixture of characteristics known to exist in a number of differing species. Lucy is 6 million years removed from Homo sapiens. This one is only 3 million years. We're getting closer. And the believers in all of this will continue to believe no matter what people find and no matter what people say. If you're a Christian and you actually believe the Bible, that the eternal, omniscient, omnipotent God of the universe created us in His image, tripartite creatures, you are lined up against the atheist or the agnostic who will continue to believe everything can be explained by means of physical evidence. You will continue to collect specimens and study them for the evolutionary clues they should represent. And then, of course, when something like this is found and it's out of sequence, it should challenge you to think about your suppositions. But that doesn't happen with these folks. They have over thousands of years proven themselves to be inflexible on this. Show me incontrovertible facts which disprove my hypothesis, and I will go back to the drawing board and come up with a new hypothesis that includes this new information. And we'll call this science. On the other side, what you people have is more like voodoo. That there's a God who we don't know where he came from, and he just speaks a word or he does whatever he does, and boom, all this stuff comes. No. In America, close to 79% of the eminent scientists do not believe in the God of the Bible. That according to a 1978 study. Maybe more than that now. And yet every scientist knows that if you leave matter to itself, it does not organize into a different system. Atheists are more likely to be younger than the overall population, more likely to be college educated, more likely never to pray or to feel a deep sense of wonder about the universe. And American men are more likely than women to be atheists and don't agree that belief in God is necessary for one to be moral. Now, 45% of atheists disagree with them. Atheists are more likely to vote Democrat if they bother with politics at all. Of course, overall Americans, 51% of them, say they would not vote for an atheist. That was the last poll. All these gaps have closed over the last 100 years. Why? Because America is systematically undermining biblical thought, biblical values, biblical belief. And it's not going to get better. Not because people are ignorant or they won't learn, but because the sin nature hates God. If you bring God into the equation, into the discussion, you have left science. And yet everything God has done is entirely consistent with science. It's a debate that will never end until Jesus comes.